So imagine a society where you can just, I don't know, drop your wallet on the sidewalk and you
Right?
just walk away and you know with absolute certainty that no one is going to pocket it.
Which is pretty hard to imagine, honestly.
Oh, totally. But picture a place with no locks, no borders, no poverty, and absolutely no private property.
Like a perfect utopia.
Exactly. And in 2008, a guy named Xu Feng actually sat down and wrote the exact step-by-step blueprint to build this reality.
Yeah, it's a very specific document.
It really is. It's this manifesto-style document titled, quote, "The Number One Home in the World." And it outlines this proposed community called Lifechanyuan.
And, it isn't just some vague philosophical poem either. It reads almost like an architectural schematic for humanity.
Right.
It attempts to combine these grand cosmic spiritual ambitions with, well, extremely rigid earthly rules for daily behavior.
Yeah.
So it functions as both a map of the universe and a behavioral manual for everyone living in it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission for today's deep dive is to see how this text blends diverse religious philosophies with radical social restructuring.
Yeah, we want to look under the hood.
Exactly. We want to understand for you, the listener, not just what Lifechanyuan aims to achieve, but the underlying psychology of how they actually plan to pull it off.
Right, and if we are going to understand that behavioral manual, we really have to grasp their map of the universe first.
Okay, so where do they start?
Well, the text draws this rigid line in the sand right away regarding the nature of human happiness.
Like, what makes people happy?
Yeah, but it defines happiness, auspiciousness, and joy not as internal mindsets, but as physical environments.
Wait, really? Like actual places?
Yes, specifically places where, quote, the greatest creator, Jesus Christ, and Buddha Sakyamuni are present.
Okay, wow. So the document just sets up this stark binary right from the jump.
Very stark. You are either aligning with these ultimate spiritual forces, or you are dwelling in the domain of what it literally calls demons and monsters.
Demons and monsters.
Yeah. It explicitly labels places filled with quarreling or people struggling for fame and power as the domain of ignorant persons and laity.
So if you think about like modern corporate ladders or political campaigning,
Absolutely.
or even just, keeping up with the Joneses in a normal suburban neighborhood, the text views those environments as literal demonic gatherings.
Exactly. And that framing is a hugely powerful psychological tool.
Because it raises the stakes.
Right. It
Yeah.
elevates the stakes of daily life. You aren't just choosing a lifestyle, you are choosing between absolute cosmic harmony and demonic chaos.
That is heavy.
It is. And to secure that harmony, the first three features of this manifesto mandate strict reverence for the greatest creator, nature, and life,
Okay.
alongside complete trust and compliance with the teachings of Jesus, Buddha, and, quote, sages from all ages.
Okay, but hold on. I got to push back on that.
Go for it.
So it's essentially a spiritual all-star team.
That's one way to look at it, yeah.
I mean, they aren't picking just one lane. They are drafting Jesus, Buddha, and history's greatest philosophers onto the exact same roster.
They really are.
But practically speaking, you can't demand compliance with all the sages of history at the same time. History's philosophers contradict each other constantly.
Oh, of course they do.
Right, like you have ancient Stoics arguing for emotional suppression against hedonists who argue for pleasure.
Right.
You have Eastern mystics offering completely different views on the ego than Western theologians. How does a group demand someone follow a spiritual all-star team when the players are running entirely different plays?
What's fascinating here is how the text neutralizes those contradictions
How so?
through syncretism.
Okay, syncretism.
Yeah, which is the blending of different, often opposing beliefs into a single framework. In the logic of Lifechanyuan, historical and theological differences just simply do not matter.
They just ignore them.
Pretty much. They extract what they view as a unified, underlying frequency of truth. Their argument is that if a sage was truly a sage, they were all ultimately pointing toward the exact same universal reality. They were just using different cultural vocabulary.
I see. So they are essentially stripping away the historical context of these figures to claim them as, like, early spokespeople for Lifechanyuan.
That is the core strategy, yes. By claiming all major spiritual figures, the movement insulates itself from being labeled as just another splinter sect or a new cult.
Right, because they're saying we're not new, we're everything.
Exactly. It positions itself as the ultimate unifying truth that finally synthesizes thousands of years of disjointed human philosophy.
Wow.
And practically, this creates an unchallengeable authority.
I bet.
Because if a leader says, follow my rules, you might rebel.
Sure.
But if the leader says, follow these rules because Jesus, Buddha, and Einstein all secretly agreed on them, the psychological barrier to questioning that authority becomes incredibly high.
Yeah, you're not arguing with a guy named Shu Feng, you're arguing with the universe.
Exactly.
Okay, so once you establish that you hold the ultimate unifying truth of the universe, you now have the absolute authority to dictate how society should run.
Right.
Which means, according to feature 4 of this text, man-made structures have to go.
All of them.
Yeah, the text doesn't just want to reform society, it wants to completely dismantle it.
Down to the studs.
Exactly. It calls for the creation of the Lifechanyuan era. And the prerequisite for that era is the total dissolution of countries, political parties, religions, and traditional families.
The ambition here is just massive. They want a single global government where humanity and the earth become one.
Just one big happy planet.
Basically, it pulls heavily from ancient Chinese utopian ideals.
Okay.
Where, a person of virtue won't be abandoned and doors never need to be shut in the evening because crime no longer exists. They even say the weather will be pleasant.
Wait, they think the weather's going to cooperate too.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
But to reach that level of global harmony, the text argues that every boundary that divides humanity has to be erased.
Every boundary.
Geographical borders create wars. Ideological borders create political parties. So they just have to be destroyed.
Wait. Dissolving religions.
Yeah.
But we just established that they're heavily relying on figures like Jesus and Buddha.
Right.
Isn't abolishing religion while heavily relying on religious figures a massive contradiction? How do they justify outlawing the very institutions that preserve the teachings they're using?
From an outside perspective, yeah, it is a massive contradiction. But Lifechanyuan doesn't categorize itself as a religion.
They don't.
No. In their worldview, religion is kind of a dirty word.
Oh, interesting.
To them, it implies human-made dogma, tribalism, and historical conflict. Religion is an artificial border.
Got it.
Lifechanyuan, to them, is just the natural order. It's the cosmos working as it should.
Okay.
So erasing religion isn't a contradiction to them. It's just clearing away man-made confusion to reveal the true universal state.
Wow. They want to keep the prophets but burn down the churches.
That's a perfect way to summarize it.
So if you are erasing geographical borders and religious borders, the next logical boundary to fall is the most intimate one, which is the family.
Right. Features 7 and 8 get into this.
Yeah. The text mandates that traditional family patterns and husband-wife relationships must completely disappear.
Completely.
And it replaces them with a communal structure where all members are simply, quote, brothers, sisters, relatives, and lovers who only care for and respect one another.
Which represents a profound restructuring of human intimacy.
I mean, yeah, that's an understatement.
Throughout utopian literature, the nuclear family is almost always targeted.
Why is that?
Because it functions as a miniature version of tribalism. A traditional family naturally creates an us versus them dynamic.
Ah, I see.
Think about it. As a parent, you are biologically and socially wired to prioritize your own child over the collective.
Right. My kid comes first.
Exactly. Your spouse comes before your neighbor. But in a society trying to achieve perfect equal harmony, that biological favoritism is viewed as a systemic flaw.
So it's like taking the concentrated heat of a blowtorch, the intense, exclusive love of a nuclear family,
Yeah.
and forcing it to spread out into a massive space heater to warm an entire auditorium.
That's a really good analogy.
It fundamentally changes the intensity and the focus of human intimacy. You are no longer allowed to love one person the most. You have to love everyone equally.
Right.
But practically speaking, and listener, imagine this for a second. If there's no isolated family unit prioritizing their own kids, how does a child even get raised?
Right.
Or fed, for that matter?
Yeah.
You are essentially deleting the basic economic building block of society.
Well, to solve that logistical nightmare, Feature 9 outlines what they call a non-ownership system.
Okay, what does that look like?
Private property is completely canceled.
Completely.
Entirely. And since the nuclear family no longer exists, the elderly are supported jointly by the entire community, and children are fostered jointly by the group.
So the whole village raises the kids.
Yes. Everyone shares all fortunes and difficulties. It removes the burden of survival from the individual and places it entirely on the collective.
Okay, so this sounds like Karl Marx's "to each according to his need" bumped into a Taoist retreat.
Honestly, that's pretty accurate.
But think about the psychological reality of that for a second. Imagine not owning anything,
Right.
not even your own clothes or your own house, and trusting a massive extended collective to raise your kids and care for your parents. Could you actually surrender that much control?
It asks for a level of trust that most people just do not have.
Yeah, because if you are a member of Lifechanyuan, the level of dependency that creates on the group is staggering.
Oh, absolutely.
If you ever wanted to leave, you wouldn't have a single resource to take with you. Not your savings, not your home. And because children are raised communally, perhaps you couldn't even take your family.
And that structural dependency, whether intentional or not, is the underlying mechanism of utopian control.
It traps you.
Well, when visions like this target private property, they do so because ownership is viewed as the engine of selfishness and inequality.
Okay, explain that.
If I own a plot of land, I have to secure it with a fence. I might want to acquire more land than you to ensure my family survives a bad harvest.
Right.
The text views this desire to accumulate and protect wealth as the root of human suffering.
So it's the mechanics of greed.
Yes.
By removing property and family, they believe they're literally removing the hardware that allows greed to function in the human brain.
Exactly. And without those engines of selfishness, the text claims that truth, goodness, beauty, and love will just flourish naturally.
Just automatically.
Right. Features 14, 15, and 18 describe the resulting daily routine as this elegant Shangri-La lifestyle.
Shangri-La? Okay.
There are no idlers or parasites. Everyone contributes. Everyone is a creator.
And let me guess, no one complains.
Ding, ding, ding. Crucially, the text explicitly mandates that there are no talkative moralizers or fault critics.
Ah, so no one complaining, no one criticizing the system or pointing out flaws in the leadership. You just do your work and stay positive.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
The operational rule for daily life is that people simply act according to their temperament, fulfill their duty, and, quote, take one's needs.
Okay.
It paints this picture of an effortless existence.
I mean, acting according to your temperament sounds incredibly freeing on the surface.
Sure it does.
But look at the environment it exists in. It exists inside a rigid structure where you own absolutely nothing, you have no exclusive relationships, and you are explicitly forbidden from criticizing the community.
Right.
It creates this fascinating paradox. It's the promise of absolute personal freedom, but it demands absolute structural surrender to get there.
Yes,
You can do whatever you want as long as you have surrendered the capacity to want anything outside the collective's design.
It is the ultimate utopian trade-off.
Yeah.
The desire for a completely frictionless society almost always requires the removal of the personal autonomy that makes us individually distinct.
Yeah.
You are free from poverty, crime, and conflict, but only because you have traded away your agency.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
You have this manifesto calling for the end of all nations, the abolition of private property, and the dissolution of the family.
Right.
You would expect a group with beliefs this radical to be incredibly militant, right? Maybe planning a massive revolution.
That's usually how the story goes.
Right. But Feature 12 explicitly states, quote, no one will oppose, interfere, and confront against government.
Yes.
It instructs members to stick to Lifechanyuan values internally, but to completely obey the management of the government in daily life.
Furthermore, they are commanded to walk their own path
Yeah.
and actively avoid fighting with the laity or any outside organization.
They just ignore everyone else.
Pretty much. They are told to be entirely passive toward the external world.
This is so wild to me. They want to dissolve all countries eventually, but command strict obedience to this state right now.
Right.
That's like drawing up the blueprints to demolish an apartment building, while simultaneously volunteering to be the landlord's quietest, most compliant tenant.
That's actually a great way to put it.
Why take that posture? Why not fight for the revolution you are literally writing a manifesto about?
Because it's a very calculated survival strategy. And it's born out of historical awareness.
Okay, what do you mean?
Radical utopian movements that openly antagonize the state usually get crushed by the state very quickly.
Right, like Waco.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Governments do not tolerate groups that openly plot to overthrow them.
Sure.
So by mandating total civic obedience and forbidding members from arguing with the outside world, those fault critics we mentioned earlier, Lifechanyuan insulates itself from external friction.
Ah, I see.
They aren't trying to overthrow the government through political revolution. They are building their radical internal world entirely under the radar.
So they are just trying to outlast the current system. They don't need to defeat the government if they genuinely believe the government is going to collapse on its own.
That is the absolute core of their timeline. They believe the current system will be dismantled by a cosmic force, not a human one.
Cosmic force.
Yeah, the text explains that the number one home in the world was created in response to a big universal adjustment meant to purify the earth.
Wow.
They believe literal, unstoppable cosmic forces are going to step in and do the heavy lifting of dissolving the borders and religions.
So they just have to wait.
Right. Their job isn't to fight. Their job is to be ready when the dust settles.
And this universal adjustment has a massive end goal that goes way, way beyond earthly politics.
Oh, yeah. Feature 11 gets into this.
Yeah, it outlines that life will sublimate to the heaven, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the Elysium world, and the celestial archipelago.
It's quite a list.
It really is. And when you start throwing around terms like sublimate to a celestial archipelago, it shifts the text from, a terrestrial commune to full-blown cosmic ascension.
It absolutely does. And unpacking those specific terms gives us a really clear window into their cosmology.
Okay, break that down.
In this context, sublimation isn't just a metaphor for self-improvement. It implies a literal, energetic transformation of the soul.
Wow.
An Elysium world, or a celestial archipelago, represents physical or spiritual realms in a multi-layered universe that are vastly superior to Earth.
So Earth is just the bottom rung.
Exactly. In their view, Earth is just a harsh, temporary training ground.
Okay.
If you live perfectly according to the Lifechanyuan blueprint, surrendering your property and family, your consciousness upgrades. You earn the right to inhabit these higher dimensional spaces for thousands of years.
Man, it elevates their communal living from a quirky social experiment to a mission of absolute cosmic urgency.
It really raises the stakes.
It flatters the ego of the believer, right?
Yeah.
Telling them they are part of this elite cosmic vanguard while simultaneously stripping them of all their earthly agency.
Yes.
And we know it's urgent because the document provides a ticking clock. It states that this entire project is meant to lay the foundation for a new lifestyle after the year 2013.
Right. And remember, this document was penned by Sui Feng in July of 2008.
Right.
So they believe they had roughly a 5-year window before this massive universal adjustment tore down the old world order.
5 years. I mean, a 5-year deadline changes everything about human psychology.
How so?
Well, if you truly believe the end of the world as we know it is happening in 60 months, suddenly giving up your bank account, your home, and your marriage, it doesn't seem like a sacrifice at all.
It makes sense.
It feels like essential, rational preparation. I mean, you don't need a 401k if the global economy is going to be replaced by a celestial archipelago in a few years.
Exactly. Setting a specific near-term date is a highly effective mechanism in these kinds of transformational movements.
It forces action.
It does. It creates an immense, inescapable sense of purpose among the followers. You cannot procrastinate your spiritual sublimation if the universal adjustment is arriving in 2013.
Right.
It demands that every single sacrifice be made right now.
Wow. Looking back at this entire journey, it is just incredible to see how a single document attempts to construct an entirely new reality from the ground up.
It's very comprehensive.
It really is. It begins by claiming the absolute, unassailable authority of the greatest creator, Jesus, Buddha, and history's sages.
Right.
Then it uses that immense spiritual leverage to mandate the complete deconstruction of society, wiping out borders, religions, private property, and the biological bonds of the nuclear family itself.
And in their place, it attempts to build a non-ownership community where everyone is a brother, sister, or lover,
Right.
living this shared Shangri-La lifestyle where the collective provides everything.
Yeah.
And to protect this fragile ecosystem while it grows, members maintain perfect civic obedience to the outside world, acting as quiet citizens while they wait for a cosmic universal adjustment to transform the Earth.
It's a vision that demands you surrender everything you own and everyone you exclusively love in exchange for a life supposedly completely free of friction, poverty, and greed.
That's the pitch.
It asks you, the reader, to weigh the ultimate cost of utopia. Are you willing to give up your individuality for perfect security?
It's a heavy question.
It is. But there is one final thought we want to leave you with today, building on the reality of that ticking clock we just discussed.
The 2013 deadline.
Right. If a community's entire psychological foundation, their absolute surrender of property, their dismantling of the family, their quiet obedience to the state is built on preparing for a specific, imminent cosmic turning point like the year 2013.
Yeah.
What happens to the human mind when the calendar flips to 2014 and the outside world hasn't changed at all?
That's the real test.
When the deadline passes and the universal adjustment doesn't arrive, does a utopian vision collapse under the immense weight of unfulfilled prophecy? Or does it dig its heels in deeper, evolving into an even more insulated, separate reality just to justify the massive sacrifices its members have already made?
It usually goes one way or the other.
It's something to deeply consider as you look at how human belief systems operate under pressure. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into your sources.